Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to study about the Burmester theory. As we know that in the Bosnick's theory, we had assumed the pavement to have a single layer, but in the Burmester, we are having the two layers or three layers, or n number of layers can be used for solving the stress, strains, and deflections that are acting in various layers. Flexible pavements are the layered systems with the better materials on the top and cannot be represented by a homogeneous mass. So what do you mean by homogeneous mass? Homogeneous refers to the uniformity of the structure of a particular substance. And what do you mean by isotropic? Isotropic materials are those substances which are having a physical properties that are equal in all the directions. So I repeat, the layered systems which are represented by the Burmester theory, the flexible pavements are the layered systems with the better materials on the top and cannot be represented by the homogeneous mass. So the use of Burmester layered theory is more appropriate. Burmester in 1943, it is the Donald M. Burmester, who was a pioneer in the field of soil mechanics and was a professor in civil engineering department at Columbia University, has designed a flexible pavement by the layered system. The method is of analyzing a two-layered soil system which resembled a flexible pavement, having its top layers stiffer than its bottom layer. Later in 1945, he extended the method to include a three-layered system. He has extended the single layer theory of Bosnick's to have the two-layer system, and again with his own concept of two-layered system, he has updated from 1943 to three-layer system at 1945. So as an important outcome of Burmester's numerical solutions, the flexible pavement thickness design method was developed for airfield pavements. I repeat, Burmester in 1943 first developed the solutions for a two-layer system and then extended them to a three-layered system in the year 1945. And with the advent of computers, the theory can be applied to a multi-layer system with any number of layers. Now let us study about the assumptions that are considered under Burmester theory. Every layer material is homogeneous, isotropic, and ideally elastic. They are characterized by the unique elastic modulus and Poisson's ratio. So what does it mean? Every layer material is homogeneous means for each layer, whatever the material that is there, the particular substance or the structure is of uniform in its composition. Suppose if as a whole in the Bosnick theory, as there was no layers present, the complete whole thickness of the pavement was being considered as homogeneous. But here, if you try to consider the whole thickness of the pavement, it cannot be called as homogeneous because each layers are having the different composition of the substance. So but if you try to compare it with the separate individual layers, each layer material is homogeneous. Isotropic means the substances are having the physical properties that are equal in all the directions. Each layers are having isotropic property. And ideally elastic in the sense the stress is directly proportional to strain. They are linearly elastic. They are characterized by the unique elastic modulus and Poisson's ratio. So how do you characterize the thickness of a multi-layer theory or the two-layer system? They are characterized by a unique elastic modulus and Poisson's ratio, which we have studied in the previous slide. In what do you mean by elastic modulus? Young's modulus of elasticity, it is nothing but the ratio of stress over the strain. And what is Poisson's ratio? It is nothing but the ratio of lateral strain by the longitudinal strain. Now we have the second assumption. A pavement consists of two layers. The elastic modulus values of the top layer is more than the bottom layer. That is, the Young's modulus of elasticity of the top layer is greater than the Young's modulus of elasticity of the bottom layer. So here the bottom layer can be considered as subgrade and the top layer may be considered as a base course or surface course, or you can consider this one to be a surface course. So because of the two layer system, we can only consider subgrade with respect to the base course, subgrade with respect to subbase course, subgrade with respect to the pavement surface. As we know that the Young's modulus of elasticity is given by the ratio of stress for the strain. You know that due to the application of the load on the top surface of the pavement, the stress is maximum. Hence, the Young's modulus of elasticity that is required for the top layer must be more than the Young's modulus of elasticity that is required at the bottom, because at the bottom the stress applied over the subgrade is getting reduced. Because of that stress upon strain, Young's modulus of elasticity is the ratio of stress upon strain. If the stress is reducing, ultimately the Young's modulus of elasticity required is also lower at the lower layer. The third assumption is the layers are weightless and infinite in the horizontal direction. Though the individual layers of the pavement are infinite in the horizontal direction, but they are finite with the vertical direction. So hence, infinite in the horizontal direction and finite in the vertical direction can be called as semi-infinite layer. Especially if we want to speak with respect to the subgrade soil, the soil layer is infinite in the horizontal direction, as well as the subgrade is infinite in the vertical direction also. But whatever the layers that are existing above the soil subgrade, it will be infinite in the horizontal direction and finite in the vertical direction. Finite in the sense it will have a definite thickness of the pavement. Infinite in the sense, as we know that road is continuously running in the horizontal direction, it will not have any finite width. So it will be infinite in the horizontal direction, but we have the definite thickness of the pavement in the vertical direction. That's why it is called as finite in the vertical direction. So infinite in the horizontal direction, finite in the vertical direction can be called as semi-infinite layers of the pavement if we try to consider it for two layer system by the Burmester method. The fourth assumption what we can expect to see in the Burmester method is the top layer has a finite thickness. That is, whatever the layers that are present above the soil subgrade, they are considered to be a top layer. It will have the finite thickness h, but the bottom layer is considered to be infinitely thick. Infinitely thick means it is with respect to the soil subgrade. Infinitely thick and infinitely in its horizontal direction, infinite width. The fifth assumption is the top layer is in full contact with the bottom layer, and the interface between these layers is rough, and there is no loss of transfer of applied stress from the top layer to the bottom layer. Here the top layer is, as we have already discussed, this is with respect to the base course, and always the bottom layer in the two layer system is the subgrade. So bottom layer is a subgrade and the top layer might be it is a base course, sub-base course, or else it might be a surface course. So whatever the interface that is existing between these layers, it will be a rough, and there won't be any loss of transfer of the applied stress from the top layer to the bottom layer. The next assumption of the Burmester theory is there will be no shear and normal stresses acting outside the loaded area. There will be no shear and normal stresses acting outside the loaded area. The next assumption of the Burmester theory is there will be no shear and normal stresses acting outside the loaded area. The last assumption of the Burmester theory is the applied stress is uniform over a circular area. What does it mean? A uniform pressure P is applied on the surface over a circular area of radius A. So due to that uniform pressure P, which is going to be applied on the surface over a circular area of radius A, the applied stress is going to be uniform over a circular area. So let us assume this is an n-layered system subjected to circular load. A circular load of uniform contact pressure of small p. Already we know what is p given by nothing but the ratio of load over the area, kg per centimeter square, and 2a is nothing but the diameter of the circular loaded part over the surface. So if we have suppose 3 layers in the system, For each of the layers, there should be a material properties like Young's modulus of elasticity and Poisson's ratio separately for each individual layers. E1 and mu1 are the soil properties for the layer 1. E2 and mu2 are the soil properties for the layer 2. En and mu1 is the soil property for the last layer, that is the soil subgrade. So what do you mean by Young's modulus of elasticity? It is nothing but the ratio of stress over strain, and mu is nothing but the Poisson's ratio, that is given by the ratio of lateral strain to the linear strain. Now let us assume this pavement is composed of 3 layers, that is an asphalt surface course, granular subbase course, and a subgrade. So it is necessary to combine the base course and subgrade into a single layer for computing the stresses and strains in the asphalt layer to make it as 2-layer system, or to combine the asphalt surface course and the base course together for making it as a one single layer for computing the stresses and strains in the subgrade. So if there are 3 layers in the pavement composition, you can just consider the 3 layers to be of 2 layers by combining the effect of the subgrade with respect to the base course for determination of stress and strain in the surface course, or else for determination of stress and strain in the subgrade you can just combine the surface course with respect to the base course to make it as one single layer, and the subgrade can be considered as the other layer. All the analysis are based on the assumption that the load is applied on the flexible plate such as rubber tire. If the load is applied on the rigid plate such as that used in the plate loading test, the deflection is same at all the points. On the plate, but the pressure distribution under the plate is not uniform. Why it is not uniform? At the edges the pressure distributed is more, and at the center the pressure distributed is very less. But if you can compare it in rigid plate, the deflection under the plate is uniform throughout. But if you can just refer it with respect to the flexible plate, there will be a uniform pressure distribution due to the tire over the rubber tire surface over the flexible pavement. If you can consider this to be of flexible plate, and whatever the deflection you can just see, it will be maximum at the center and the deflection is going to be minimum at the edges, but there will be the uniform distribution of the pressure you can see or expect in the flexible plate. So again I repeat, what is the difference between the flexible plate and the rigid plate? The deflection is going to be uniform under the rigid plate, as you can see it under plate load test, but whereas the pressure distribution under the wheel over the rigid plate surface is not uniform, because it will be maximum at the edges and it will be minimum at the center. You can see the pressure distributed diagram, which is not uniform, but the deflection what you can expect to see under the rigid plate, it is uniform. Whereas you can compare it with respect to the flexible pavement, here there will be a uniform pressure that is acting over the flexible plate, and due to which the deflection is maximum at the center and deflection is going to be minimum at the edge. This is the comparison of the vertical stress distribution by the Burmester and Bosnick's approach. Let us assume this is an uniformly distributed load acting over the pavement surface having the uniform pressure small p, and you will be finding the radius A of the circular plate from the center line till it's one of its edge, so it can be represented as A. So you know that the pressure distribution will be in the form of bulb shape at the bottom inside the soil mass. So this will be considered as layer 1, and this will be considered as layer 2 for the Burmester approach. And here in the left side we are trying to compare it with respect to the Bosnick's theory. So this is the Bosnick side and this is the Burmester side. Okay, so in the Bosnick's theory, what we had assumed, the whole soil mass is of uniform in composition. uniform in its composition means the soil mass is homogeneous and it is composed of only one single layer. So if we compare it with respect to Burmester, we have the two layer system. One is the surface course, another is soil subgrade. So you can refer to the stress distributed in the Bosnick's approach. The stress is going to be reducing from 70% to 30% for a depth of 4a. So in the Burmester we can just see the reduction in the stress from 90 to 30, which has happened within the layer 1 at the depth of h is equal to a. So what does it indicate? For reduction in the stress for 30%, from 70% to 30%, we require larger depth, h is equal to 4a, but whereas in the case of Burmester, due to the reinforcing layer at the top with respect to the soil subgrade, the stress has got reduced from 90% to 30% within the shorter depth of h is equal to a. So this indicates the requirement of the thickness of the flexible pavement is going to be less in case of a Burmester, and the requirement of the thickness will be more in the case of Bosnick's for the same reduction of the stress that could be expected for the applied load. So one more reminder what we have to remember in the case of the Bosnick's approach. So we are considering the ratio of Young's modulus of elasticity of the pavement as well as Young's modulus of elasticity of the subgrade to be the same. So E1 upon E2 is equal to 1 in the Bosnick case, and E1 upon E2 is not going to be equal to 1 for the two layer system, because you know that always in the Burmester E1 will be greater than E2. What is that? E1 is nothing but Young's modulus of elasticity of the pavement surface, that is base course, and E2 is nothing but Young's modulus of elasticity of the soil subgrade. So to which the stress reduction is going to be taking place in the layer 1 rather compared to the stress reduction with respect to the soil subgrade. So here we are trying to assume for all the soil mass the Young's modulus of elasticity as E1 greater than E2, or else EP greater than ES. EP greater than ES means Young's modulus of elasticity for the pavement is greater than Young's modulus of elasticity for the soil subgrade. So Poisson's ratio for the soil is assumed to be having a value of 0.5 throughout the soil mass. Okay, and here what is the value of h upon a? H upon a is equal to 1 for the layer 1. Here it's h upon a is equal to 1. Okay, suppose it is a layer 1 and this is the layer 2. Okay, so if you try to compare, so why the h upon a is equal to 1 for the layer 1? See, if this is a depth of layer 1 which is at h is equal to 1a, so what will be h upon a? H upon a is equal to 1. So suppose if you are trying to consider the depth of first layer somewhere at this layer, somewhere at this extent of 2a, so what will be the h upon a? H upon a for the layer 1 would be h upon a would be 2, in that way. So here we have considered the height h at depth of a from the surface, so h upon a is equal to 1. So we have considered h upon a is equal to 1, mu has been considered as 0.5, and the ratio of E1 upon E2 or EP upon ES is considered to be not equal to 1. Why it is not equal to 1? Because we are considering the two layer system in the Burmester approach. As we know that the right side of this particular center line we are trying to analyze it with respect to Burmester, and the left side of this diagram is going to be analyzed by the Bosnick's theory. So you know that as there is a homogeneous composition of the soil mass, the Young's modulus of elasticity for the soil subgrade is going to be same as that of Young's modulus of elasticity of the soil subgrade. That is why EP is equal to ES, or else As there are no number of layers, or there are no layers above the soil subgrade, the Young's modulus of elasticity is going to be remaining same for both the subgrade as well as the pavement, or whatever the soil mass that is going to be coming over the soil subgrade as a one single layer. But here each individual layers, this is a soil subgrade, and if it is a base course and if it is a surface course, as we have told that if there are 3 layers, we can just make these to be of 2 layer by combining surface with respect to base for finding out stress and strain in the subgrade, or else you can just combine base course with respect to subgrade for determination of stress and strain in the surface course. So for each layer we have separate Young's modulus of elasticity E1 and Poisson's ratio mu1. So for the base course we have E2 and we have mu2. For subgrade we have E3 and we have mu3. So you know that E1, E2, E3, how they are going to be. So already we have discussed about the magnitude of Young's modulus of elasticity, how it is going to be vary. E1 will be always greater than E2 and E2 will be always greater than E3. So that's why the maximum stress will be reduced in the first topmost surface layer, and a certain percentage of stress will be reduced with the presence of base course layer, and the least percent of stress is going to be reduced due to the presence of the soil subgrade because of lowest value of the Young's modulus of elasticity that is present. The stresses in the two layer system depend on the modular ratio E1 upon E2 and the thickness radius ratio, thickness and radius ratio H upon A or Z upon A. This particular figure shows the effect of a pavement layer on the distribution of vertical stresses under the center of a circular loaded area. The chart is applicable to the case when the thickness H1 of layer 1 is equal to the radius of the contact area, that is H upon A is equal to 1. So that the thickness of the pavement layer is equal to radius of the contact area. A Poisson's ratio of 0.5 is assumed for all the layers assumed in the Burmeister theory. It can be seen that the vertical stresses decreases significantly with the increase in the modulus ratio. What does it mean? Whenever the E1 upon E2 is equal to 1, what does it mean? The Young's modulus of elasticity E1 or EP is going to be equal to Young's modulus of elasticity of the subgrade. Whenever E1 upon E2 is equal to 1, Young's modulus of elasticity of the pavement is equal to Young's modulus of elasticity of the subgrade. Why this is so? Because in the Bosnick we have considered only one single layer above the soil subgrade. We don't have any stratification or any layers present above the soil subgrade. Hence we can consider the ratio, modular ratio E1 upon E2 is equal to 1. And especially at the depth of H here, with the modular ratio of E1 upon E2 is equal to 1, what is the stress, percentage of stress? We can expect to see the percentage of stress, vertical stress is about 68% of applied pressure, 68% of the applied pressure. So sigma z upon P is equal to how much? Sigma z into P into 100 is equal to 0.68, which is nothing but the sigma z is equal to 68%, which is 68% of the applied pressure. Means for this particular Bosnick E1 upon E2 is equal to 1, the reduction in the stress has taken place from 1 to, that is 100% to 68% at a depth of H. But if the modular ratio is going to be increasing, whenever E1 upon E2 was equal to 1, the reduction in the stress which we have seen in the Bosnick theory is around 68% of the applied pressure. But if the modular ratio is going to be increasing like 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 and so on up to 100, so let us assume at the same depth of H is equal to 1, whenever the depth of the first layer is equal to the radius of the circular contact area, with the modular ratio of E1 upon E2 is equal to 100, which means Young's modulus of elasticity of the pavement is equal to 100 times that of Young's modulus of elasticity of the subgrade. E1 upon E2 is equal to 100. This means there exists a two-layer system. Whatever the modular ratio you are going to expect to see here, they are all with respect to the two-layer system, and this particular E1 upon E2 is with respect to the single layer system. Okay, now we are going to see that E1 is equal to 100 times of E2, which means Young's modulus of elasticity of the pavement is equal to 100 times that of Young's modulus of elasticity of the soil subgrade. Okay, so here, what is the percentage of stress reduction from 100% at a depth of z upon is equal to 1? It has got reduced to almost around say 8%. Here if you can see, this is 0.1. 0.1 means 10%, means somewhere around here it will be 0.08, which will be 0.08 means 8%. So check out, at the depth of h is equal to 1 for the Bosniak single layer theory, what was the percentage of reduction of the stress? It was only 68% of the applied pressure. But what will be the percentage of reduction in the vertical stress with the increase in the modular ratio from 1 to 100? The stress has got reduced from 100% to 8%. For what modular ratio? E1 upon E2 is equal to 100 at a depth of z upon a is equal to 1. Hence we can make out this particular vertical stress in the two-layer system is totally dependent upon E1 upon E2, ratio of E1 upon E2, as well as it is also dependent upon the ratio of depth of the pavement with respect to the radius of the circular plate, circular area of loading, radius of the circular area of the loading. So this particular chart is going to be representing the basic pattern of Burmester two-layer stress influence curves, which has been derived from Burmester Highway Research Board. In the bulletin 177 you can find this particular type of curve, where the x-axis represents the vertical stress influence coefficient, which is given in terms of ratio sigma z upon p. These are nothing but the percentages of vertical stress with reference to the applied contact pressure. So this y-axis represents the values of the parameter z upon a, that is depth upon radius of the circular loaded area of the cross section, and this is case for the single layer, and this is the case for the two layers, where we have the two depths h1 as well as h2. See, whatever the assumptions we have made at this particular interface of 1 and 2, it is with respect to what this is considered to be a pavement, and this pavement can be considered as a base course, and this particular lower layer can be layer 2 can be called as subgrade. So how many different layers you can be seeing in this graph is first layer, and this is second layer. So you know that always E1 or EP is going to be greater than that of ES. Okay. Today again I would like to tell you about how we will be finding out the deflection under a rigid plate and also in the flexible plate in two-layer system. This will be calculated by the formula delta is equal to 1.18 small p into a divided by ES, where ES is the modulus of soil subgrade, hence modulus of elasticity of soil subgrade, and A is the radius of the plate. I will explain at the later stage radius of the plate while we will be solving the problem, and this small p is nothing but the contact pressure. So when this formula has to be used, whenever you are expected to see the plate load test is going to be acting over the soil subgrade, or the plate load test is going to be acting over the pavement surface, that is especially on the base course. Yes, you have to make use of this formula. And one more formula for determination of the deflection under flexible plate. How are we going to find this one? This is going to be found by this formula: delta is equal to 1.15 P into A divided by ES. I just forgot to mention one more term here. Fs is nothing but the deflection factor into this is deflection factor. Fs is nothing but a deflection factor. How are we going to calculate this deflection factor? So for that deflection factor to be calculated, we need to have the values prerequisites of h upon a, and also we must be having the values of E1 upon E2. So with these two values of h upon a as well as E1 upon E2, will be capable of determining what is called as F2. F2 is nothing but the deflection factor. With the use of this F2, with the use of this Fs or F2 deflection factor, okay, we will be I just will be considering this deflection factor with F2 only to avoid the confusion. F2 is considered to be a deflection factor here. So by multiplying this F2 with respect to this term, for rigid plate 1.18 P into A divided by ES into F2, we will be getting the deflection rigid plate. And by multiplying the optimal value of this F2 with respect to 1.15 P into A divided by ES, we will be getting the deflection of the flexible plate. When are we going to make use of the formula for flexible plate as well as rigid plate? We'll be looking into that while we'll discuss about the step-by-step procedure of solving the problem for determination of thickness of the flexible pavement by the Burmeister method. So with the help of this curve, what we must remember is it is possible for us to find out what is called as deflection factor with the use of h upon a value as well as with the use of E1 upon E2 values. So